G'day everyone, it's Lego here and welcome back to the channel.
Let's get right into making the most delicious, thick, creamy, plant-based cultured oat milk.
So let's get started. We're going to make a plant-based cultured oat milk today, or a oat milk yogurt. We're going to use the Instant Pot method. So all you'll need is going to be a food processor, your Instant Pot, a bowl for straining later, some straining cloths, 2 liters of water because I'm going to make 2 liters worth of cultured oat milk, and 2 cups of rolled oats. So if you want to make 1 liter, the ratio is 1 cup to 1 liter and 3/4 of cashew nuts if you want to add cashew nuts. I'm not going to add the cashew nuts today, so I'm just going to do the ratio of 1 cup of oats to 1 liter of water. So I'm going to do 2 cups of oats to 2 liters of water. The process is basically to first blend your water with your oats, strain it out, then we'll put it in the pot, we'll pasteurize it, and then we'll take it to the next step to actually start making the yogurt. So firstly, I'm going to clean the pot and have it cook so long so that we can have that ready by the time that I'm done with the our Instant Pot is nice and clean now. You just move it over a little bit there, as you can see. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this water. I will replenish that. Maybe a tablespoon of bicarbonate of soda. More or less, give or take. Just stir it in there a little bit. Pressure cook just for about 5 minutes, and it can be low pressure. And I'm not going to keep it warm afterwards, obviously. And then we'll put the lid on and let that go. Make sure that the vent is set to sealed, the valve. There we go, there. And now we'll just let that go.
Next up, we'll start the blending.
In goes 1 liter of water. And 1 cup of oats. Make sure your lid is on properly. There we go. So I let that go for about a minute, and then we've got a nice, well blended and well mixed foamy milk, basically.
And now we can get to straining it.
So what I like to do is to use this cloth that's got like a band, an elastic band, because that helps me to that it doesn't spill. And I also like to use a deeper bowl or bucket like this sometimes. So for now I'm going to start out with this one and maybe do 1 liter, and then just transfer it into another bowl. You make coconut milk, you want to use ice cold water and not strain it so hard, because it could become slimy because of that enzymes in the sorry, not coconut, oat milk, because of those enzymes that activates. But if we want to make the oat milk for making yogurt, I actually want those enzymes, because those enzymes help thicken up the yogurt. So in this case, we're going to strain it proper. What I also find useful is to just use a sieve to catch some of the solids, and you don't mess up the straining cloth, or the cheese cloth it's also called, so much. For now, what I do with this is I mix it into a smoothie. So tomorrow, if I make myself a nice smoothie, I will just mix that in there. It tastes delicious and then it doesn't go to waste. So I'll speed this up for you a little bit, that you don't have to watch the whole process, but it takes about 5, maybe 10 minutes if your cloth is a little bit dense like mine to do this training. Okay, I'm going to stop there guys because I don't want to rip this cloth again because I still need to do this next batch. Okay, so the Instant Pot is ready. I'm going to depressurize it. There it is, depressurizing. Okay, so now that our Instant Pot is done cooking, we can rinse out this bicarbonate of soda water in there and rinse it out again with nice clean water. Remember, this is going to be very hot now, so either let it stand for a while to cool down or just use some cloths to do it. And then we can go on to the next step once that is done. Okay, now our Instant Pot is nice and clean. Remember to dry the bottom nicely. You don't want water in there where the element is. So I've dried it nicely and I've rinsed it about twice, dried it nicely on the outside, and now it's ready for the next phase. So another very important ingredient that we need is live cultures. So you can either use some of your previous batch that you've made, if you've made a previous batch like me, or you can buy a plant-based yogurt or plant-based cultured oat milk or whatever you can get your hands on from the shop,
Or a
probiotic capsule. Just open up the capsule and you empty about the contents of 2 or 3 or 4 of those capsules into your mix, and then that will also do the trick for a starter. And from there you can always just use your old yogurt or the probiotics again. Okay, so the next step is almost the most important step. On your Instant Pot, or if you don't have the Instant Pot, you can just use a normal pot on the stove. When you press your yogurt function, and you press it again, it goes to boil.
So what we need to do is to pasteurize the plant milk that we've just made using the Instant Pot or the stovetop by bringing it to boil and then cooling it down afterwards.
And what you'll have to do is to stir it, not the whole time, not continuously, but quite often, to ensure that it doesn't burn or start to stick or make clots.
The boiling temperature could be anything between 70 to 90 degrees Celsius or 160 to 195 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on how high you are located above sea level.
And you have to keep it there. And once we get there, we need to cool it down back to around
43 degrees Celsius or 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is very important because we cannot add the cultures from our store-bought or previously made yogurt before it has been cooled down.
And what will sometimes happen is you will see that the Instant Pot will sometimes go off the boil function, and it will say the 10 beeps, and it will say it's done. It's not boiling yet. So I'm just going to hit cancel and then put on saute. And then we will keep heating it all the way until it is boiling. You can already see how nice and thick it's starting to become. Okay, as you can see, it's really starting to thicken up very nicely. Look at that. And as you can see, there's some proper bubbles starting to form. So that's when you know it's more or less ready. So if you don't have a thermometer, it's not a problem. You just wait until you see these bubbles and you'll see it thickens up nicely like this. And then it's ready. So now we need to cool it down. So I'm going to switch off here. And you can either just set it aside and let it start cooling down. Because remember, we need to get it to about
43 degrees Celsius
or 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So that we don't kill the bacteria that we're going to now add before we start the culture. So once that is done, we can add the culture. But to get it down quickly, you can either put it in an ice bath. So a bowl with an ice bath. What I do is I just put a lot of very cold water in my basin and I just put the bottom of the Instant Pot in there, and then it cools down quite quickly. Remember to handle with care. Just take the rims or use a cloth. It is hot, so don't burn. Okay, just for the sake of thoroughness, because you couldn't see where I did the pot into the water. So you could, for example, take any container or maybe another big pot or something that your Instant Pot stainless steel inner fits into. Just fill that with cold water. Maybe put some ice in there. Remember not to fill it up completely, because as you put the pot in, it will rise. And then you can just maybe add some more water inside it. And that way you just keep stirring it. Look at how nice and thick it has become. And now the temperature, let's have a look. It's down to 37 degrees Celsius. 103 degrees Fahrenheit.
If you do not have a thermometer, you can just test it on your palm like you would test a baby's milk.
So we can get back to the Instant Pot. And remember that if you did an ice bath and all of that, to just dry your inner nicely on the back, on the bottom and on the sides. Don't want to make the Instant Pot element wet. There we go. And we can put that back in there. And now we're going to stir in. So it's usually 2 tablespoons of the previous yogurt, or the bought yogurt, or if you're going to use probiotic capsules like this, I would say maybe 2 to 3 capsules per liter.
So if you do not have an Instant Pot to culture the milk in, you can just put it in a warm place, covered with a blanket, and keep it in a warm place in the house.
And we stir that in there nicely. So let's just clean up this pot. So now that we've got everything stirred in there, you can go to the yogurt setting again. Okay, so now if we activate the yogurt setting again, we're not going to cycle through until we get to boil. We're done with that phase. So you need to ensure that it's on normal. I usually go for 10 hours. And then you will see it will start counting. And we can put on the lid. You don't even really have to put the lid on. It's not like pressure cooking that it will stop if you take the lid off, but I just do it so that nothing nasty gets in there while you're busy with the process.
Alternatively, you can take the seal out and just put the lid on without the seal.
So as you can see, it starts at 0 and it will count up gradually. And I will show you when it's at 1 minute, and then it will go up until it reaches 10 hours, and once it reaches 10 hours it will do the 10 beeps that it usually does when the Instant Pot is done with its function, and then you will have nice cultured oat milk. So just to take a before. So it's been 8 hours now. Not a very big change in what it looks like. But it's nice, very, very nice and thick. Look at that. There we go, it's been 10 hours. And let's have a look. Yes. Very nice. Nice and tangy. Look how thick that is. And that's proper cultured oat milk or plant-based yogurt. So now the final step, very important. Let this cool down completely. And then as soon as you can, pop it in the fridge. Don't put it in the fridge directly, that can damage your fridge if you put hot things into the fridge. But switch it off, and as soon as it gets to room temperature, then you can put it in the fridge for 6 to 8 hours. It will thicken up even more, and then once that is done, then you've got your yogurt. And as soon as you have it cold, you will taste that it's not that sour, like that yogurt sourness that you get. But as it stays in the fridge longer, the fermentation process, or the culturing process will continue, even if it's in the fridge. So you can keep this for long. I've eaten some of this
1 to 2 weeks after making it.
It stays perfectly fine, and it's very delicious. You'll probably eat it up before it actually goes off. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next installment of
Plant-based Lego.
Have a good day and goodbye.